Welcome, guys. Another episode in Inside Out with Bats. Today we have former Australia cricketer Jason Gillespie with us. Jason, first of all, thank you so much for your time. And how are things back home? Is everything okay? Getting back to normalcy?
Yeah, look, thanks for having me, mate. Really appreciate it. Things are okay. Things are moving here back in Australia. I should be in England with Sussex in county cricket, but unfortunately with COVID-19, that's not possible at the moment. So I suppose the one positive is I've got to spend a bit more time at home with my family. This time of year, we're normally not together. And it was, our son's birthday yesterday. Probably the first birthday I've had been around for him for many years, because his birthday's in June, and normally I'm away with cricket. So that's been, I suppose, a positive in this these unique times that we find ourselves in.
Convey my wishes to him, Jason. Belated wishes to your son.
Sorry?
Belated wishes to your son. Convey our wishes.
Yes, I will, for sure. Yeah, he turned 10, so yeah, he's very happy, very spoilt little boy.
Great to hear that, Jason. Jason, talking about fast bowling, how long do you think it's going to take for the current pacers at the international level to hit their strikes? How long do you think it's going to take for them?
Yeah, look, it'll take a little bit of time. I think a lot will depend on how much preparation they've had. Certainly, I think we're seeing some movement, obviously, in England, with the West Indies have arrived, and England cricketers are being out doing their training, and bowlers getting the amount of work they need to get up to speed. But nothing replaces match fitness and match day cricket. So it will take a little bit of time, and there'll be certainly a little bit of rustiness among the bowlers. But look, at the end of the day, players don't lose their skills overnight. I think everyone will be fine. It'll just take a little while to get back into the swing of cricket after this, this forced layoff.
Jason, over the last few years, we have heard a lot of former cricketers, fast bowlers, they talk about, modern day fast bowlers bowling little in the nets, and that they work hard out in the gym and all of that, citing workload management. Do you think after this lockdown, this could change, or how do you see that, the balance between, training off the field and on the field?
Yeah, look, I think it obviously depends how many overs bowlers are bowling in games. And that's the key. I think, this term of phrase is probably a more modern day phrase of workload management. And this has been something that we're very conscious of. As a coach, it's something that I'm conscious of, and as a former bowler myself. So, I'm aware of that. The bare facts are is that fast bowling can be tough work. And, it is hard on the body at times. We've got to find that balance with, I think the biggest issue is finding the balance between managing the amount of bowling a bowler does, so they're not doing too much, but also doing enough so that they're not just ticking over as such. They're actually still working on and improving their skills. So I think that's the debate, and I think that's where sometimes the discussions come in between coaches, players, and sports science, is where's that balance? And I think, I think the teams, the players that do it right are the ones that have good open lines of communication and are all working towards a common goal. And, I think that in my experience, that's seemed to be the best way forward.
Right. Jason, you said that there's some action in England. The England to West Indies Test match, players have started doing their training. It was wonderful to see actually James Anderson, run in and just move the ball, in the air, off the wicket. That video was like, wow, cricket is back kind of a feeling. But do you think, Jason, bowling is always an action, isn't it? And batting is always reaction. Post this COVID-19 break, and with the England West Indies Test series going to happen, do you think it's going to be advantage fast bowlers or bowlers in particular for some time, or do you think batsmen will still be able to figure out things quickly and dominate the bowlers?
Yeah, look, I still think it'll come down to conditions and surfaces. I suppose for batters, it probably doesn't really matter how much training or preparation they do. If they get put on a juicy wicket, it's going to be advantage fast bowlers anyway. So I think it will come down to the surfaces. As I said just before, players don't lose their skills, and we haven't had a lot of time out. It's not like it's not like during the war years where we've missed 3-4 years of cricket. We've missed a couple of months, and I think the players will get back into the swing of it relatively quickly. As I said, there will be a little bit of rustiness and take a little bit of time just to find their feet, but I expect that to happen quite quickly, and the competitiveness that international players will have, that they'll be doing all their training, all their preparation, and they'll be ready. They'll be ready to represent their country and do the best they can.
Right. And Jason, you spoke about this rustiness factor, kicking in. There'll be a little bit of rustiness. Do you think, given that now the ICC has said no to Saliva, do you think it's going to be completely up to the surfaces that's going to be used, because 80 overs, you're not going to have a new ball? Do you think that's going to determine the course of the test match?
Yeah, look, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I think the biggest issues we're going to see with this is the habits of cricketers and the habits of fast bowlers. So a bowler walking back to his mark, subconsciously, a lot of the time, he might just lick his fingers and apply it to the ball, because that's what a bowler's done since they were a kid. Growing up, they've been playing cricket for 20 years, and that's what you do. It's just a habit. The ball gets thrown from the wicketkeeper to a slip fielder, and he quickly just does that. Like that's what I think will be the biggest challenge for players, is, I suppose, changing those habits that they've got. There's a number of bowlers around the world that actually lick their fingers before they play. Their hands on the ball at the top of their mark to run in. So I just think it's the habits. How I see teams maybe overcoming this is just having a designated fielder, maybe someone at mid-on or mid-off, or a slip fielder. They're completely in charge of maintaining the ball. I think that could be possibly the only way forward. Teams do that in a sense. Some teams do that in a sense already, in terms of particularly when they're trying to get the ball to reverse swing. So I think there'll be a bit of an extension to that. Or the other way is you just take it completely out of the hands of everyone on the field, bar the actual bowler that is bowling that over, and he's in charge of maintaining the ball for those 6 deliveries. But they're the only ways that I can see this happening. But there's going to be some breaches. There's no doubt about that. That will happen. It's very new. It's just come in. As I said, habits are going to play a role here.
Do you think bowlers will be mentally actually a bit upset? Have you had a chance to speak to some of the bowlers, fast bowlers, especially in Australia or in England? What's their reaction to this? Because as you said, it's a habit. As a kid, they pick up a ball, they use saliva, they just shine it, and they keep shining it in their pants, trousers, shirts, sleeves. So are they mentally a bit upset with this, or how are they seeing this situation?
Yeah, to be honest, there hasn't been a lot of discussion on it. I think everyone's accepting of it. It's going to happen. I think the focus is more on players just want to get out and play cricket. That's the reality. They all just want to get back outside and play. So, if it means this has happened and, they can't shine the ball the way they traditionally do it, they're just going to have to crack on with it. And, but I look, at this stage, I don't think there's been that much discussion about it. It'd be interesting to actually speak to guys that are back outside training full time now. Ask them about, is it a habit that is a bit harder to get out of than first thought. But yeah, haven't had any specific discussions at the moment about it.
Right. And how do you see batsmen actually come out of this? The likes of Virat Kohli, David Warner, Rohit Sharma, Ken Williamson, Joe Root, Steve Smith. These guys have a consume about 300, 400 balls for breakfast, lunch, dinner. That's their bread and butter, isn't it? Playing ball, chasing. But they haven't had it for the last 3-4 months. Do you expect them to come out, runs blazing the way they always used to, or do you think it's going to be okay? We haven't had a lot of time in the nets. It's going to be a steady wait and watch kind of an approach.
Look, I think they'll have plenty of time in the nets. They'll have a lot of coaches throwing a lot of balls at them. They'll be trying to face as many bowlers as they possibly can at training. I don't have an issue with that. I think it's more the bowlers getting up to speed and getting that work into their body for the rigours of fast bowling. Spinners as well, getting used to that. Batters won't have a problem in terms of volume of hitting. They'll get plenty of volume. What they may not get is that match practice. That's probably the only thing. Nothing beats time in the middle for batsmen, bowlers, everyone to best prepare for cricket. The best preparation for cricket is playing cricket and learning out in the middle. So that'll just be a bit of an adjustment, but I don't envisage too many problems for the batsmen going forward.
So can we put it like advantage batsman, at least, going back to my earlier question in this sense?
Look, again, it will depend on the surfaces.
Right.
If the surfaces have a little bit of spice in them and a little bit of movement, sideways movement, then it'll be a pretty even contest. But if they're really good batting surfaces, then probably just a slight advantage to the batters.
So how do you see the dynamics of the cricket itself change because of this change in the laws, where you say don't use saliva, reversing is possibly out of the equation for some time? How do you see bowlers coming with different tactics?
Yeah, I mean, look, I heard Mitchell Starc make some comments about it. It will be a challenge if you can't use, try and get the ball to swing. It'll make the game very much in a batsman's favour. It's a good question. I think there's a lot of unknowns, to be perfectly honest. Until we actually play some cricket and get some feedback from the players and batters and bowlers, we won't really know. We're basically speculating and guessing. So I think we'll just have to wait and see, really. Get some cricket under our belt, and we can sort of review that and see if there's anything, the ICC will see if there's anything that possibly needs to be tweaked. But look, initially, and certainly in the UK, I don't see too many issues. Is that the ball in English conditions, the ball tends to be maintained slightly better anyway than some of the hotter, drier climates. So, and the Duke ball is a very good cricket ball, and it holds its own very well.
And you brought up that point, Jason, regarding Duke ball. So the Duke, Kookaburra, then there's SG, all sort of these things really matter, isn't it? Without saliva. In SG ball, 10 overs, 12 overs, that's the time, let's say. The shine is going to go off the ball. Kookaburra, it's different. Yeah. Duke, it's different.
Yeah, look, it's going to be, I mean, if there's a ban on saliva in places like India, for instance, gee whiz, I mean, the ball doesn't last very long at the best of times. So without any saliva, it might be, quicks, bowl 2 overs each and then just throw the balls to the spinners and the spinners do all the work. So until there's a sign that the ball might reverse swing. But look, I don't necessarily see too many issues, but I think it'll be good to review after, get some feedback from the England and West Indian players to see what they think after their first their test match, really. And that'll give us a good idea, I think, going forward.
India recently, the last 2 years probably has been one of the best times in Indian cricket with regards to fast bowlers dominating both in India and in overseas. Do you think post this ban on saliva, and you can't use saliva, reverse swing, there's a question mark of whether reverse swing is going to happen? How do you think that's going to affect the mentality of Indian paces on the whole?
Well, I mean, it'll come down to their mentality, their attitude towards it. For me, I think bowlers around the world need to see this as an opportunity, okay, and look for solutions rather than bemoan the fact that they can't use saliva. Okay, so rather than focus on what you can't do, which is use saliva, what can you do? And the ICC have said you can use sweat. You can keep the ball shiny on your pants or on a rag. You can keep the ball dry. So look, there'll be ways around it. And I think bowlers have just got to get it in their minds that they've just got to think positively. The reality is this is a situation, and the players, or the bowlers have certainly got to adapt to that.
Jason, correct me if I'm wrong here. You spoke about the fast bowlers need to change their habits. It comes down to the routine and all of that. We see a lot of fast bowlers, shine the ball, keep their ball, like this, hold the ball like this, and walk all the way till the mark, turn up, and they have that momentum with them. They know that it's going to reverse. That top of the mark, when you stand, okay, the ball is going to go this side. I'm on top of things, and I can control the situation. Now, without that, and going back to Washim Akram's point on bowlers being like mere robots without, without reverse swing or without using saliva on the ball. How do you think this is going to affect their routine? Because you know pretty well that whatever you shine, it's not going to happen. So it might not work. So during practice, how do you think can these guys change these habits during practice sessions?
Yeah, well, I think it's going to challenge bowlers to, I suppose, be a bit more disciplined with their line and length. If they're not getting the movement through the air, they're going to have to be even more accurate. So look, as for their habits, that'll just take a little bit of time. I think it'll potentially create opportunities for bowlers to try different things. Maybe be a bit more creative, use the crease a bit more, hold the ball differently. Whether instead of just traditionally holding the ball down the seam or across the seam, hold the ball different ways. Release points. Release the ball from a slightly different angle, and see if that has an effect once the ball hits the surface. So, I think it's an opportunity for bowlers to experiment, explore, and see what they can do. And, I'm quite excited for the bowlers. I think while, in an ideal world, they're able to maintain the ball using saliva, which is something that's always happened. They've got a new challenge here now. They've got a new opportunity. And, look, the best bowlers, the very good bowlers will find a way. There's no doubt about that.
Right. And Jason, I remember during the 2004 series where Australia toured India. It was a successful tour for Australia where you guys won the series. I remember you had said that you have to keep your egos aside when you come to India. You have to stick to the basics. You have to ensure that you don't give boundary balls to Indian batsmen who like to score a lot of boundaries, which you guys didn't do in 2001. I remember you said that. You need to just you can't bounce India out. Do you think patience and discipline is going to be the two key words for fast bowlers post this COVID-19? You have to work batsmen out. You have to set up plans for batsmen to get out. You can't just run through sides, isn't it?
Yeah, look, I think so. And, you referenced that 2004 series. And yeah, we did. We felt that, to bowl traditional Australian line and length wasn't going to cut it in India. And we learnt our lessons from 2001. So I remember in 2004, we thought about, well, if we attack the stumps, we're always going for wickets here. So we're attacking the stumps. But what we're going to do is we're going to make the Indian batsmen earn their runs, because Indian batsmen like to hit boundaries. And sometimes it's very hot and humid in India, in certain parts of India, and it's better to hit a boundary than try and run a 2 or a 3 for a batter, especially at the height of summer or whatever. So we felt that if we just maintained our discipline and stuck at it and made the Indian batsmen run more, it would potentially tire them out. And then if we're still attacking those stumps, they might miss one, and then we're in the game, whether it be a bowled or an LBW decision or a catch at a catching mid-wicket or something like that. So that was the theory behind it, and we were fortunate enough that we were able to implement that plan. And from a bowling point of view, we were able to do that, and then our batters were able to do the job against the Indian bowling attack. So it was a wonderful series. There's no doubt about that. And yeah, really enjoyed it.
Do you think that could be one of the top plans, or that could be one of the basic plans for the fast bowlers right now, given that no, it's going to be difficult to reverse the ball?
Yeah, as I said, I just think it'll open opportunities for bowlers to explore their own game. So,
Right.
you know, a vast majority of bowlers will bowl from exactly the same spot on the crease each and every ball for 20 overs a day. You know, I think this is just one example. It might be that bowler every over will bowl a couple of deliveries from a different spot on the crease to create a slightly different angle, and the ball will come down at a different angle to the batsman's used to. You know, potentially create some opportunities there, create some indecision from the batters. So that's just one example. Bowlers might go over and around the wicket a bit more, might work on bowling more short deliveries. I'm not sure, but it'll be interesting to see what tactics you know, the fast bowlers come up with if they're finding that it's harder to get the ball to move through the air. Because the brutal reality is in Test cricket, the ball actually doesn't swing for a long time anyway. You know, barring certain atmospheric conditions and certain places, by and large, the new ball swings for a spell, and then things go pretty quiet and until the ball reverse swings, and not everyone gets the ball to reverse swing. So, you know, I don't think things are going to change as much as people are anticipating. I still think that the basics of our bowling, is going to be the key. Discipline, line and length, being able to hold those line and lengths for long periods of time, patience, and backed up by some good fielding. And I think the good bowlers will still find ways to get wickets.
Right. Just coming to the concluding part of this session, Jason, just a couple of more questions and a quick rapid fire stuff. Jason, I remember this 2004 innings of Sachin Tendulkar in Sydney. The one where he just cut out his cover drive option, just took the cover drive out of his cricket manual.
Yep.
And then he just focused only on the onside. Yeah, you had the best seat in the house on the field.
Yeah.
So, Jason, do you think batsmen, as you said, with bowlers, they have their own habit. They like to bowl a lot of balls to get into the rhythm. Even batsmen without match practice could be vulnerable, where they want to feel the ball outside the off stump, where they just go chasing at deliveries. Do you think for some time batsmen should actually take a leaf out of Sachin's book?
Yeah, well, I mean that example you're talking about with Sachin, when he put away his cover drive because he felt that was a real opportunity for the bowlers to dismiss him outside off behind. So he just put that shot away, and so that challenged us bowlers to bowl differently to him. We knew we weren't going to be able to get him out bowling out there. We could bowl a lot of dot balls, but we weren't going to dismiss him. And then he was more patient than the bowlers, and that's what when I talked about that Indian series in India, that series we were more patient than the Indian batsmen. So that's how our mindset had to be. So look, I think with the lack of match practice, I think the batsmen in general before the matches they play will be doing that sort of preparation in the nets anyway. They'll have their plans. They'll know, okay, we're facing this bowler on this surface. This is how he's going to try and get me out, and this is my plan to combat that. So I think every batter should have that plan. He should know exactly what's going to come down at him from the opposition bowler and have a specific plan to combat that. And it might be I'm not going to play that offside drive, or the tall fast bowler, I'm not going to play a hook shot because of the extra bounce. There's two examples. So that's how I think it'll go.
Right, and Jason, Aditya has a question for you. Aditya, please.
Yes.
Hi, Jason. So, me being an opening batsman, I know how hard it is to prepare your mindset for a long innings and to achieve it subsequently. So your brilliant 200 made the world look at you as an all-rounder. Yeah, definitely. So, can you take us to your innings and what was your mindset when you went into bat and as a night watchman? So, what was your emotions? Take us to your innings.
Yeah, it's a good question, mate. And thank you for that. I think
Probably the best
basically
question.
the mindset of batting. I mean, like being a bowler, I had my routines, I had my process, and I think it's the same for a batter. And I just applied that to my batting. Because the reality is, as a batter, if you spend any length of time out in the crease, out in the middle, you're going to play and miss, or you're going to play a shot that's not quite right. The key is to learn from it and put it out of your mind, because what's happened in the past, you can't control. It's already happened. You also can't control what's going to happen in the future. But all you can do is focus on that moment, the task at hand, and stay in the moment. And, if you do that, you give yourself the best chance. So if you stay in the moment and do the best you can in that moment, and then do that over and over and over again, you're building an innings. And so certainly when I was batting in that test match, or when I batted in general, my mindset was very much in the moment, because I can't control the past or the future. But what I can control is my attitude and my mindset to this delivery that's coming in. And I just prepare as best I can and play it as best I possibly can. Make the best decision I can, and then play the ball. And that's just how I went about my batting. One thing as a tail ender, I felt I was quite good at was not worrying about a play and miss or a ball that nearly got me out. Because once it's gone, that's it. You can't do anything about it. There's no point dwelling on it, because that's not going to help you face the next delivery. So that's one thing I really worked hard at doing. And it's a bit the same as bowling. Like you get hit for a boundary. Okay, well, can't do anything about it now. You might as well just focus on the next delivery rather than dwelling on that past delivery.
Okay. So it's just one ball at a time, right? Just focus on the next ball and.
Yeah, and look, it's an old cliche, I suppose, but sometimes these old cliches, they have a lot of value, and there's a reason why they've lasted so long. It's because they've got real value. So I mean, my big lesson, my big takeaway, and it's something I speak to players about as a coach, is that mindset. You can't control the past or the future, but stay in the moment, focus on doing the best you can in that moment.
Sure. Thanks.
Pleasure.
Jason, that was wonderful. Yeah, probably this was the best question of the interaction, I guess.
I always enjoy talking about scoring runs, that's for sure.